Hello and welcome back to the Film Posers YouTube channel. My name is Josie and I am accompanied by my co-host Gabriela Burgos, and we are going to be talking about Passing, which just had its premiere at Sundance 2021. Let's get into it.
So, as you can probably tell by my excitement, Passing was my most anticipated release at Sundance. Backstory: I read the book when I was an undergrad at La UP. Shout out La UP, and I
We both did.
absolutely yes, I absolutely loved that book. It really that story just really stood out to me. I love the characters, and I wrote so many papers on it that I wish I could find. Anyways, back to the point when I saw that it was premiering at Sundance, I just like, oh my god, it opened back that love that I developed for that book when I read it like 3 years ago. Oh my god. So yes, it was very anticipated. So like Josie said, it is written and directed by Rebecca Hall, but obviously it is based on the book by Nella Larson. And it stars Ruth Negga and Tessa Thompson as Irene and Claire. They are two friends who reconnect after many years apart, and their unexpected reunion reignites this obsession that they once had. Ooh, mysterious. So the title of the book, Passing, refers to one thing in particular about these characters, and it is that both women are white passing, which means that they have black ancestry. They are black, but they are light skinned. So at first glance, they look like a white person. And obviously, back in the setting of the novel, even if you had one drop of black blood, as they called it, you were immediately black, and you would be shunned and segregated. You know how everything was back then. And so this book is about that. We have two women who pass and both have done completely different things with their lives. We see Irene, who has embraced it, who has embraced her the fact that she's African American, and she still lives in Harlem, and she married a black man and has black children, and she's very content with her life that way, embracing that that's who she is, and there's no reason to hide it. And she doesn't pass. She finds that kind of shameful. She does not like to do it. But on the other hand, we have Claire, who has decided to pass all her life as white. She married a white man and she had a white child. And she specifically says how she spent her entire pregnancy scared that her daughter would come out black, and her secret will be discovered, and she would be shunned from society. So we have those two perspectives of these women, which is very, very interesting. And that's basically what the book is. We see these women who are living completely different lives, because we see Irene is Tessa Thompson, and Claire is Ruth Negga. I should have specified. So we see Irene wanting to reconnect with Claire, but not find it in her to do it because of what Claire is doing and who Claire is married to, because her husband obviously is a racist, which, and he specifically says how much he doesn't like black people, and Irene wants nothing to do with that. But Claire wants to be a part of Irene's life because her life is more welcoming and more liberating, and she doesn't have to play a role. She can just be herself. And that's basically the whole book of these two women with struggling with their identities. And it's a wonderful book, by the way, if you want to read it. So the director decided, first of all, to shoot in film, which perfect, love that. Second, it is shot completely in black and white, which I thought was the best decision that they could make for this film. In an interview that she did before the film premiere, she explained that she wanted to do it in black and white because that's how these people saw the world, in black and white. And in the context of the book, you obviously see everyone in black and white, and you can't really tell what their skin color is because it all looks the same. And it was just so fascinating. I just thought it was a brilliant idea. And so basically, yeah, you can't tell what their color is, so you don't know who's passing and who's not, and who's passing and who's not. It was just the best idea they could make to adapt this book.
I definitely agree. The stylistic choice with black and white was very suitable because that was, I think it's more than beyond the whole metaphor of how people used to see the world. I think it fits more perfectly simply because you can't tell through a black and white aesthetic the actual color of a person's skin. And in this context, it was very suitable, especially Claire with the, like, her hair was very blonde, and at times when you had her contrasting other people of color, she definitely stood out. So the black and white aesthetic definitely helped with that. I really like the performances. I feel bad that I'm not as excited as Gabriela. I think I was expecting a lot more, especially since it was described as a psychological thriller, and I did not feel that. The novel does a really good like, it does atmosphere really well, and I feel that this film was lacking a bit in atmosphere if they did want to do like a psychological thriller kind of sense, but it felt more down to earth, so to speak. That's the best way I can describe it right now. It definitely felt like a slice of life film more than a thriller up until the very end, for obvious reasons that we will not describe unless you've read the book, then you know. And I think that's when it picks up that kind of theme and thematic and style, but up until then it was more seeing the life of these two women and their relationships with race, class, and sexuality.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I didn't really consider, when I first read the book, I didn't really consider it a thriller. I always saw it, maybe it's just the way I interpreted it, but I always saw it like the movie is a slice of life, like Josie perfectly described it. So when I read the book the first time, that's exactly how I saw it. It was just, a movie about the lives that these two different women lead. So to me, the film perfectly encompassed that. So I really think
Mm-hmm.
that, but I do agree the atmosphere in the book was done better. But still, I think what Rebecca Hall did with her directing in this film was great. I really loved the setting. And again, her filming it in film gave it a better aesthetic and was a better choice. And as she mentioned in the Q&A, she wanted it to be on film to make it more realistic. She didn't want it to be digitalized. She wanted it on film. And it was the best choice because obviously the black and white looks much more different on film than it does if you shoot on digital, and that's more technical stuff, but just
Mm-hmm.
to say that that the directing decisions were very well and were very much in favor for the film. And as for the performances, I mean, when aren't Ruth Nega and Tessa Thompson great? They're always great. They're both so talented, and they were perfectly cast in these roles. And I was reading a lot of about this film before the premiere because yes, I was so excited. I wouldn't shut up about this film for, yeah. And Ruth said that she's still haunted by Claire, by the type of character that she had to play, and it is actually one of the most difficult characters she had to play. And even though they wrapped filming like almost a year ago or more, she still remembers Claire, and it was a very haunting role for her. And Tessa Thompson was also mentioned that in the Q&A, that it was also a very difficult role to get into. And I just found that really, really interesting. And it definitely showed, how complex these women are, that it's not just so easy as to say, oh, like Claire's passing and she's happy, and Irene is not passing and she's happy. There's a lot more into that, and they perfectly capture that in the film as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a character-driven story. It's feels a lot like a character study, specifically trying to analyze these two sides of the coin and the lives that these two people live. But I also found it very interesting because Claire is definitely, I saw her as a complex character because you never really know what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked how that was played. I also love how that was played by Tessa Thompson with her character as well, because I never know what Irene wants either. But you have more of an idea with Irene, of course, because you're able to see more from her point of view.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like the one flaw of the film is the same one that's in the book, and it's like I wanted to know more about Claire. Because obviously the story is told from Irene's perspective. So we see Claire as Irene sees her. And I always wanted to know more about Claire, what her motivations were. Because like I just said, you never know what she wanted. And I kind of hope that the film will give me more background on her, but it was the same case as the book, which I guess it's part of the mystery of Claire, because it's up to us to not to figure out what she truly wanted.
I mean, at the end of the day, she's a woman that lost her parents, had to grow up with two white women, and was forced into this different reality that changed her perspective on life. And she fully had those beliefs, like she was fully rooted in her beliefs that what she was doing was the best option for her. And it's understandable why Irene would see differently, because I mean, they grew up together.
Yeah.
So I like that dynamic. Also, for it being Rebecca Hall's debut feature, I thought she did a really good job directing. My favorite part was the cinematography. I definitely love the cinematography. The shots in this film, I was describing them as feeling like milk and honey. They just felt so smooth and just at times kind of ethereal, which was perfect for this kind of story.
Definitely. I love how Josie kept saying, "Oh my God, I am a professional film critic. I cannot give it five stars just for that shot of Tessa Thompson."
Yeah, I was like, I'm a terrible film critic. Literally, Tessa Thompson, like the way they showcase her face from the beginning and they capture it so beautifully. It's just such a stunning shot, because it's at the very beginning. This is the first time we see her, and she describes it as the first time that she's ever passed as a white woman. And she's covering her face with the brim of her hat at all times, so you can only see her eyes through the hat, and it's just such a beautiful shot. One of those kinds of shots that you hope to capture one day by yourself, like yourself capture.
It was perfect. And I really love Claire's introduction as well. We see her sitting on the cafe, and it's obviously from Irene's point of view, and so the camera focus, and there's other people, but Irene only sees Claire, and it is this very ethereal shot as well. He's directing.
Yeah, I mean, the way these women are presented to the audience is a telling fact of how these women are as people, because Irene is hiding herself while Claire is out in the open.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, anything else you'd like to say about the film?
Is Alexander Skarsgård okay? Why does he keep playing the evil husband?
I don't know. We should talk to his agent.
That was just so funny when he appeared. I screamed because I knew who he was and the character that he was, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me again?" To conclude, Passing, definitely one of my top films of Sundance so far. To me, it did not disappoint. I loved everything about it, and yes, to me it perfectly encompassed the book and everything that the book stands for. So I definitely recommend it if you've read the book. This is definitely an adaptation to look out for. And yes, hopefully we shall hear who will distribute it soon.
Yeah, as an adaptation, it does a good job. As a film standing by itself, I do think it could have been better in certain aspects, but I'm definitely a fan of the execution. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to keep up with us on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You know what to do. We are covering Sundance, so please head on over to our Instagram to know what we're watching at the moment, as well as our Twitter for instant reactions. And yeah, that's all for this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.